All right, well, we're in the shop today, and today we have my 2017 BMW M3 in here because we are going to be turning this thing into a drift car for Drift Week, which is coming up in 2 weeks. So we have 2 short weeks to convert this car from a daily driver sports sedan into a capable drift car and then get it all the way across the country so that we can then road trip it from one track to another, which is what Drift Week is. We're gonna drift at a track, road trip to the next track, drift, road trip to the next track. So it's a road trip and multiple days of drifting. It is a huge endurance stress test, and we've got to make sure this thing's ready. Otherwise, we're not gonna have a very good time. So we've got a ton of parts on the rack, a ton of parts on the bench. We've got just about everything we need to turn this thing into a capable drift car. Fortunately, we're starting with what is already a really good, really dialed sports car, and we're just tweaking it to be better suited for drifting. So the first project we're gonna tackle is really the most important and the single biggest weak link of these engines, which is the crank hub. Basically, your crank hub is your lower timing gear. And from the factory, they're multi-piece. Since they're not keyed, what can happen is they can spin, which then brings your engine out of time, which then causes all sorts of problems. You can bend valves, you can push holes in pistons, pretty much catastrophic failure. You need a new engine. So this is a big part of the preventative maintenance to make sure that this thing holds up to the abuse that we're gonna throw at it. So that is where we're starting, getting this out of the way first and foremost, because it's definitely the most important thing that we need to get done to keep this car on the road and alive through all of the driving we're gonna do with it. So we have reinforcements coming tomorrow, but for tonight, we're just gonna dig into this thing and try to get it as taken apart as we can to save them some time tomorrow. Let's get to it. Jordan's here, and he brought coffee.
If you know E36s, you know E36s cup holders are the worst.
Do they even have cup holders?
Well, I took mine out because it actually sits better.
Without the cup holder?
Someone on Instagram told me this. You take the cup holder out and it's actually better.
That's pretty hilarious.
But this one was super dangerous with this coffee for this hole. Here you go.
This is mine.
Don't lose the coffee.
So Jordan, he's making sure your giveaway car is sorted to a whole new level.
I drove it 1,000 miles.
You drove it from New Jersey.
Yeah, New York down.
New York.
1,100 miles, and then I've been driving around.
6 CD changer, dang, son.
I don't know if that works.
I know, but it's still cool. His giveaway car, this thing's sick, dude. This is like one of my bucket list cars. I've had one when I was younger, but E36 sedan turbo.
No, so even Chelsea's saying the same thing. I know that everyone online like the coupe sell for more money and people like him better.
Oh, I like the sedans better.
Same. Even Chelsea.
Sedans are way cooler.
I'm about the sedans, and it's like here.
Let's see what's on this thing.
6266.
Dang.
Stock motor, head gasket, head studs. I lost my voice. I yell OD. Head gasket, head studs, pump gas. It made 507 wheel or 500 wheel at like 16, 17 pounds.
On pump gas?
It's about 14 pounds right now.
Dude, that's sick. Yeah. That's perfect.
But it rips. A few little minor detail things, but like the car is like 95%.
I mean, if you drove it 1,000 miles, it's...
Yeah. I know
it's better than most cars.
That's really far. Like
that's far.
So I have a box from Drift HQ for you.
Oh yeah, that's right. My dual caliper parts.
I was there, and they're like, "Oh, you're going to tailrate? Please bring this box of stuff."
That's our handbrake stuff. Right. So yeah, reinforcements are here.
Yes. Oh yeah. So we're gonna help. You obviously mentioned already that I'm gonna help the crank.
You're gonna have to explain to them what we do, or what the job entails.
If you've never done it before, it is very intimidating. You haven't gotten the valve cover off yet, right?
No.
So when you get that off, it'll get like a lot more intimidating, and then no,
it'll be fine. This is the first time I've dove into these cars at all. Like I haven't done anything under the engine bay to my white one. I did the exhaust. So I'm sure once I do it once and see what it all looks like in here, it won't be as intimidating. But give them the rough gist of this project and why we're doing this and what we have to do to do it.
Okay, so pretty much the main failure point on this car, an F80 M3, M4, whatever, is it's called crank hub failure. Some people on the internet say it doesn't happen. I can tell you I've had a random woman with a 1,400 mile car spin the crank hub and go through warranty and need a new motor. When it spins, you can bend valves. It's like a timing belt coming off, pretty much. The way it works from the factory, there's gears and a friction washer, like a diamond coated washer that when you put a bolt in it, tighten it, it locks it all together.
Oh.
It's pretty good for a stockish car, but at the end of the day, when you make any power on the car or you do like a bunch of downshifts, upshifts, the jolt of it can knock it loose.
And we do that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And drifting is like the worst. So my car has a crank hub fix. I have an F80 M3. I have a white one though for drifting, and I have a crank hub fix, and I've had no issues with it.
I mean, your car is what made me want to get one of these, honestly.
Duarte too.
Yeah, because I saw you guys get them, and I'm like, I wonder if they're cheap. And I was like, they're not that cheap. So then I got the one as a daily, but then I love that car, and I was like, all right, I'm getting one of these. But so we've basically got to take apart the valve cover. It's direct injection, so we've got hard lines. It reminds me of working on my diesel truck. So
similar thing?
Yeah, it's all hard lines because it's all super high pressure fuel stuff. Valve cover off, we gotta get that pipe off, we gotta get the intercooler, move it out of the way.
We'll take like this intake tube off this, and then once that's off, we will have to take like the serpentine belt off. Your radiator fan out, which is already, if you look, someone's haven't been in here before because like, this is not locked in. You see this one's like...
Right, that's what I'm saying. As I'm taking this apart, I'm finding a bunch of things that someone's been in here. And like this, someone obviously put a valve cover on this thing. Dude, I suck at buying cars. Every time I buy a car, later I'm like...
So the thing is, you gotta go for the best of the worst, I feel like. So for me, my F80, I bought with salvage title. I didn't run the VIN before buying it. If you ever buy a salvage title car, do it.
This car hasn't been wrecked, as far as I can tell. Right? Like I've looked at it. Someone did run something over underneath, like destroyed the skid plate, bent that cooler back, but it doesn't seem like it's been wrecked.
All these bolts on my car, so that's how you really check.
Yeah.
All these bolts on my car are like different color.
Yep. That's how the white car is. And like this piece is like,
these
doesn't have the VIN on it.
Once these bolts come loose, you're ruining the paint on top of it. Because this is painted with everything.
Right.
The whole hinge assembly. So that's like, there's a lot of little ways to check.
Yeah, see, I'm just not thorough when I go to buy a car. I'm not thorough.
I just send it to.
I'm the worst person to take with you to look at a car because I let my emotions take over and I just want it and it's the best deal. Like if I'm gonna go look at it, it's already the best deal I could possibly find, so I'm just gonna buy it. We're gonna start, Jordan's gonna start, I'm gonna try to help, and we're gonna take this thing apart and you'll see what we're talking about.
It's gonna get worse. When we take the valve cover off, you can be like, oh, there's a lot going on.
No, it's fine.
And then it's gonna get better.
Because it's dual Vanos, right? So it's dual, like dual adjustable cam timing?
That's not the hard part. There's a third like cam in there.
What?
That pretty much, instead of you having a rocker.
Okay.
So like normally you have a rocker, right? So a cam hits here.
Right.
Or whatever, and it pushes the valve open. This is a bad arm example.
Yes,
but a cam moves and opens a valve.
Right.
Well, this one in the middle has a cam, so it changes how much lift it has. So like at idle, you can actually, I don't know if you want to do this, you can actually take the intake manifold off and start the car. Normally you need a throttle body, because otherwise when you start a car with intake manifold, it's like being floored. Right? It will just go to the moon.
Right.
If your injectors can spray, and these injectors are here, not in the manifold. So you actually take the intake manifold off, and on each cylinder, only one lobe opens idle. So you can actually idle the car, and you'll have like the first or second valve open like 0.7 millimeter at idle.
That's crazy.
So like there's a whole nother, there's a lot more going on. It's not just dual Vanos.
All right. We'll see. I'll see it when we get in there. So this is my first time really digging into one of these cars. Like I said, I haven't really done much to my white car. I've done the exhaust. I've done some suspension work, but I haven't dug into the engine bay. And everything's really scary, you know, with cars until you do it once. Before I built my first engine harness, it seemed so complicated. Once I did it, I was like, man, this is a piece of cake. The same goes for just about everything, and these cars are no exception. When you look at them from the top and you don't know what anything is and what's hiding under all the stuff that you can see, they look incredibly complicated, and they are. There is a lot of stuff going on under there. But the more we dig into this thing, the more I realize it's really not that bad. And I'm not just saying that because I own one now. It's just, it's not terrible. It is well thought out. You know, building my Vet, my Turbo LS race car Vet, that really shifted my perspective on modern cars and how complicated they are and things being in certain places, because you're trying to shove 15 pounds of stuff into a 10-pound bag. I mean, this car has an intercooler that's air to water, so then it has 3 heat exchangers for the intercooler, an oil cooler, a radiator, an AC condenser, a water pump system for the intercooler, a water pump system for the cooling system. There's just a lot going on that has to be done in here, and to try to make everything perfectly serviceable is never going to happen. And that's where my perception's changed is, You know, I've spent 2 hours looking at just where to put something as simple as a fuel pressure regulator to make it easy to work on and to keep the lines away from heat and all this stuff. So now when I see something that's not in a great spot, I try to take a second and say, okay, well, where would I put it? And then I start looking around and realize there really might not be a better place for it. Now, I'm not saying they don't screw up and they don't make things that suck. You know, BMW is notorious for doing silly things like this crank hub that we're repairing. But when you start to take into account how much stuff is crammed in a small space, it starts to make sense why some things are just naturally going to be difficult to get to with this modern performance level. To keep it cool and to keep everything working happy, there has to be a lot of systems involved. So that being said, we're basically taking everything out from in front of the motor besides the radiator, pulling the belt drive off and all of that, because we need to get to the timing chain system. And what Jordan's gonna do is lock the cams at top dead center. He's gonna put a pin in the crank to lock the crank at top dead center, so that way the engine is timed. It is at top dead center mechanically, so we can take apart the entire timing system, swap out our crank hub, which is basically the heart of that timing system, and then put it all back together and make it run again. No big deal, right? So where that bolt's sticking out, that is the crank hub. Yeah. So the pulley bolts onto that, then that goes into the crank itself, and the timing chain and the oil pump chains run off of that. Ooh, that looks spicy.
That is
tighter than it should be.
That is really, really tight.
Come on, baby, don't break on us.
That is super sketchy.
Why is it so tight?
Yeah. If that doesn't work and this works, this is gonna be way too small. So.
Oh, that goes in there nice.
Like, it's tight, right? You want to put? You might be better with heat, dude.
It's just like it keeps the socket just getting crooked.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is the part of cars that I think people don't realize if you haven't worked on a lot of cars, things that can happen. So there's a plug.
Right here.
Hold on, I'm trying to show the spot. Up. Can you see it? That hole right there. So that has to come out, and then you can get to a bolt in there for what? Timing tensioner?
Timing chain guide.
Timing chain guide. You have to take it out. Well, it was super tight, and like, it stripped. And I promise we're not idiots. You're talking about two people that worked on a lot of cars. I haven't stripped something like this in years. And it stripped. And I mean, that's because it's freaking aluminum. But it was super tight. Jordan came up with the idea to cut a slot in it, and then we got in there with a pry bar. He's holding the pry bar with two hands behind his shoulder, head turned, and I'm wailing right behind his head. And we got it, dude.
That was super horrible.
When this stuff happens, it is like the most miserable feeling in the world. But when you get it out, it is a pretty solid, rewarding. Yeah, very solid feeling.
We're sitting here like, can we weld it? I don't know. We don't know where the other plug is. I think it's up there.
Don't tell me.
I'm like, it's steel, but that one's clear. I thought they were aluminum. We took one out. And I'm like, this is clearly this steel. You can weld this, and like that one's aluminum, so it would have been bad anyway. It wouldn't have.
I would have had to aluminum TIG weld it, but I don't have an aluminum nut, you know. Anyway, point is, we got it out fully because I really thought we were gonna have to put this thing back together without even doing the crank hub, even though we were probably 90% of the way to taking apart for the crank hub.
Yeah, easy.
Of course. I had the welder out and everything. Of course.
All right, time to get the crank hub itself out. I use a bolt. I don't know if that seems weird. It is definitely stock.
What was that noise?
It's just this timing chain, the other half.
Oh.
Sorry for scaring you.
Scare me.
This is terrible. Stock crank hub. We should get out the next piece to show the
the difference.
It just goes together, and then it spins, and then bad things happen, and you need new valves.
So it's literally just press fit. Like that.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. That's it, dude. So now you imagine why it's so easy for it to move when you have crazy forces on it.
Yeah, like what's even holding it together?
The force of the bolt.
Oh.
So, but here's the other thing. Look at these cams. The cam's the same way.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna return this thing and take it back. I think I got the return policy.
Were you buying from CarMax?
No.
Some guy on Facebook Marketplace?
Yep.
So we drilled it. We're now trying to get it all together. Sort of weird. We just sort of snug it up, and then we torque it later on once everything's together and timed. Because it's pinned, it never moves. So now we're trying to align it, but with a one-piece crank hub. I usually use two-piece. With a one-piece crank hub, it's like sort of blind. So you're just like...
Kind of just jiggle it
until it goes around until it falls into place.
Yeah, so basically, I wonder if you can see.
I can pull it out, see the pins, watch.
I showed it on the bench, but so there's basically 4 pins in the hub. You use a fixture, you drill 4 holes into the crank, and then those pins lock in to the crank so that it cannot spin even if the bolt were to come out. The chain closer to the engine on the backside runs basically 2 oil pumps because there's one in the rear of the motor to prevent starvation. You basically have front and rear oil pumps. That way, no matter what's happening, where your oil's sloshing, you've got good oil pickup. And then a vacuum pump.
Because this motor doesn't pull any vacuum.
Because of the adjustable valve crazy stuff?
Yeah, so it has a vacuum pump for your brake booster. It literally, on this car, just goes to the brake booster.
Huh, okay, so vacuum pump for the brake booster. Then the timing chain, right? And your water pump's belt driven. So that's the reason there's a lot of load on this. So you think these gears are all just holding tight with friction. Now you get on throttle and you let off throttle, you have all that inertia of all those things spinning and you let off and they try to slow down, and that's often when it'll slip. So the hub he's putting in, this is all one billet piece, right? Each gear is built into the shaft and the hub. Everything is all one piece. Whereas this, we've got 3 pieces, a friction washer, and all of that is being held together by the bolt being tight.
Let me fake put this back on for you. Oh, wow.
Just took it off. So. All right, we've got to a good stopping point. The engine is timed.
The bottom's not tight, but that's not to get tight.
I was just making sure you snugged it so it didn't fall.
It's good, but pin now, I tighten the top, now everything's off.
Right.
The bottom can't move. I'll take that bolt out, put it back in, nothing happens.
Right.
So then we take it out, Loctite it, and tighten it to the moon.
To the moon.
After we get some energy in me, some food.
Right. Yeah, so we're at a good stopping point now with the engine in time, so there's not all the intricate parts everywhere. I mean, there's still intricate parts because it's a BMW, but it's not as bad. So we are gonna take Jordan's giveaway car.
Oh yes.
Go get him some food. I'm not gonna eat.
He's not eating, he's strong.
I'm weird. And then probably do a little pull. I haven't driven a turbo E36 in years, so I'm kind of excited to see what this thing feels like. Oh, I hit the lock button. Damn, it's got power. It's got a key fob?
No.
Oh, I thought I hit a button.
No. Oh, that key has a light on it, but it doesn't work.
Oh.
How fast was your car, your E36?
Not fast.
But it was turbo?
It was turbo.
380 wheel.
Maybe. It wasn't like, it had boost leaks. Like, the dude who I traded it to was like...
You can hit it whenever you want to.
Yeah.
Whatever you want. And you don't have the brake boost, it will fucking go.
No, I'm not prepared. Damn. That thing's rowdy, dude. Holy shit.
So this is the best.
That was way rowdier than I was expecting it to be.
This is the best turbo combo. I think our boost is running right now. I know the clutch, man. We'll get it fixed. Dude, that's 12 and a half, 13 pounds. That's all it is. It's good though, right?
Wow, it's perfect.
Yeah. Why are you shifting so short? Oh, the road?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's real bumpy there.
Okay.
Dude, it's rowdy. We were just talking about it. Josue's sold on it already.
Yeah.
I'm about to make some bad decisions.
I knew he would be too. I was hoping he wouldn't leave and you would come because I was like, Josue's gonna be sold on one of these. Now I want one.
No, it's
right.
here.
I forgot about that. The center console thing.
Yeah. I was like this yesterday trying to find it. Yeah.
So once we got back from our little trip, Jordan got some food in his stomach. We went ahead and got back to work on putting this thing back together. Jordan wanted to help us get through all of the hard stuff before he left, so I had to make a little at-home front main seal installer tool, welding a piece of stainless to a piece of flat bar. We didn't have anything that would work, and the crank sticks out, so you can't use a piece of wood. It's a tricky one to install, so we had to make a tool to be able to get that thing in there. And then we just started working on putting the odds and ends back together. We needed to get the valve cover back on, the fuel rail back on, you know, all of those little things that we didn't want to leave sitting there open, done, because the rest of it's kind of simple stuff. And with that done, it's time for the scary part, torquing down the crank hub bolt. This thing is wild and goes to a wild torque spec.
That's it?
Yeah, well, I think I was already there.
All right, cool. Well, I think maybe we go for the top.
So the torque procedure on this bolt is you tighten it to 80 foot-pounds to seat everything, and then you tighten it 270 degrees. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but that is an insane amount of torque. Insane.
I don't know how strong he looks, But we're about to find out how strong he is. Oh yeah. The whole bar bends. Dude, this is the sickest $50 Amazon breaker bar you've ever seen though. Also get a handle from a jack or something. Extendo boy.
Oh, God, we're only going like 90 degrees.
You're going on 90?
I think so.
I know, but if you get the handle extension, it makes it like easier. No, or you're fine.
I'm just scared.
I feel you want help or you're
No, I'm good.
All right,
I'm just
sounds good.
scared.
It's a lot, dude. I know. I'm scared for the adapter we have in there. How much have you gone?
We're almost there.
We're almost at 180. Oh, not at 270. So from here on out, it probably won't get better, but it won't get worse. So we get extender bar.
Do we really have to go that far?
Yeah, we're gonna go far.
What if it breaks?
Why would it break?
That's a pretty fine thread bolt. Like
Wild, dude. I should have showed you. The OEM bolt you take out is actually longer than the new one because it's stretched.
I mean, I read somewhere here it's like 400, 400.
What?
Torque.
You don't want that? You're chilling?
no, right now.
We're just gonna do it till the adapter snaps. Sound good? How far are we gone? How far have we gone?
I think we're almost to 180.
We're not even at 180 yet. I mean, you could try this, but like, you want to reset or here? All right. That does make it easier.
Yeah.
The leverage is like a game changer.
Okay. Whoa. What was that?
The adapter. The crank is not gonna break.
Oh, it might be the adapter. You got me?
Yep. It's the adapter.
Oh, that's all of that was into the adapter. Yeah, I guess I didn't think. Yeah, you can see how twisted it is.
Yeah.
Because there's the.
Do you have another one of those? Or that's it.
That's it.
That is a lot. We've done them before, 300 foot-pounds many years ago, when we were like, this doesn't make a difference. This is way past that.
Past 300
You
pounds.
got like the crank snap or something.
I mean, like,
He's like, oh!
That had to be a lot.
I mean,
It's a lot, dude. It's a lot.
That
It's
had
a lot.
to be enough. That's enough.
All right, that's enough.
All right, well, we've got pretty much all of the hard stuff done. Jordan made sure to stay to get the valve cover back on, and we've got the crank pulley torqued. Well, we broke this and with the adapter, and then I welded it back together so we could finish. But the reinforcements are leaving with their tools. He just looks so official, like walking out with the tools.
I feel like I'm wearing a suit and a briefcase,
like-
but I look like a dirtbag.
Job done. You
Yeah,
walk
no.
out with the tools.
The rest you can handle.
Yeah,
like,
no,
you
for
saw,
sure.
It's not bad once you do it.
No,
It's
like
really not.
I will say, after being here, watching him do it and helping a little bit, you know, it's really, I'm less afraid of all this chaos than I thought, and I understand what's what a little bit more. Thank you, Jordan.
Love on the rest.
I appreciate it. Bring your F80 to Drift Week so we can do F80 tandems.
We'll see. Drift Week might be F80, like, or M240.
It would be cool.
F80 on F80.
It would be cool to do some F80 tandems.
Dude, I know.
If not, we'll do it on the next one.
in reality, I'm like beat, bro. I'm not built for this.
No, me either. I'm tired as hell.
Nice meeting you.
Bye. Thank you.
see you.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll see you again soon, or if not, on Drift Week.
Dude, Drift Week's in 3 weeks.
Yeah. I'll see you in 3 weeks.
see you
It's
soon.
like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Don't want to talk about it. I'm equally as sad to see the giveaway car leave. That thing is so sick. It sounds like supercharged. Like the way it idles. That thing is sick, dude. Ooh, it sounds good. All right. Well, we're gonna pick this back up in the morning because I am beat. This is a solid 12-hour day of BMW things, but we're learning. We're picking it up, taking notes. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. All right, well, we got everything cleaned up. We had a mess of tools. Had to dig into just about every square inch of the toolbox for every tool to do this job, but we're most of the way there. We've got to put it back together, but we're kind of stuck on both ends. Basically, we can't work on this side of things because we need to do the spark plugs, which I can't do until I get the spark plug socket that I ordered. It's a very specific 14 mil 12-point socket. And then we can't work on any of this stuff yet because the first thing we need to do is get the harmonic balancer back on, but we're waiting on that plug to come in tomorrow, that plug that we had to forcefully remove so that we can plug that so that we can then put the harmonic balancer over top of it. Then we can get the belt on, lines back on, radiator fan back in, button it up. So we're kind of stuck is the point. So we've been going through our parts. So one of the biggest projects that we have to do is all of the rear suspension stuff. Now, fortunately, I've been leaning a lot on Turner Motorsports because they stock so much stuff. The rear suspension stuff in and of itself is gonna be a lot of work. The clutch is gonna be a decent bit of work, and we still got work left to do here. So I don't like bouncing around, but we're kind of stuck. So one thing we decided we wanted to go ahead and start working on is adding some extra heat shielding. So we're gonna be getting this thing hot. We're gonna be doing lap after lap. And there's some vulnerable things once we put downpipes on, because the downpipes normally have a ton of shielding and now these aftermarket ones don't. So I wanna dig into my box of Mishimoto heat shielding and see if we can't protect some of this stuff under here, because that'll go a long way in terms of longevity as far as keeping this thing on track and not melting anything. We're gonna see what we can find and see what we can protect. So one of the biggest things I wanted to shield from up top here was these O2 sensor wires. These are absolutely mission critical to the engine running correctly, and they pass right through the danger zone. So we got those foil wrapped, and then I had to work on bolting this heat shield in that wasn't bolted in all the way. The more we dig into this, the more we realize that someone has been in here. It looks like the engine was swapped at some point, just based on what's been changed, what was left unbolted, things like that. So we go ahead and lift the car up to finish wrapping these wires and see if we can wrap the downpipes with them on the car. I really want to heat wrap these to make sure that they don't heat soak everything when we're drifting, and there's no way we're going to be able to do it from the bottom. We're changing the exhaust anyway. We're upgrading to an aftermarket Turner exhaust, so we decided to just go ahead, pull the exhaust out, get it out of the way, pull the downpipes out, and wrap them out of the car. Now, again, this car having been worked on, there's some strip bolts and stripped hardware, so these brace bolts were stripped. So we ended up having to get a stripped bolt socket, hammer it over the outside, and then we were able to get them out so we could get the brace off so that we could pull the exhaust out. Now, this exhaust is really big and incredibly heavy, so it's a bit of a bear to pull out. With two people, it's not so bad, all the hangers unbolt, but it's a big unit. They make it all one piece, so you can't take it out in chunks. You got to take the whole thing out all at one time. So with that out of the way, I wanted to go ahead and get this heat shield out of here and just start taking a look at what we've got in store for us when it comes to pulling this transmission out and how hard it's really going to be. All right, exhaust is out and downpipes are out. Really pretty dang easy to get those downpipes out. I always thought they would be a nightmare before I'd ever worked on one of these cars. But they're super easy to get to. They're basically a V-band clamp with one bolt that goes in, and it's pretty easy. The hardest thing is just dealing with the two O2 sensors. You know, one would be pre and post. But yeah, we're gonna try to wrap these up with this Mishimoto dimple plate and actual header wrap inside of it. I think with that, it'll keep the heat contained. What do you think, Josue?
That's a good plan.
Basically like the at-home knockoff version of what we did to the Vet that worked absolute wonders with heat management. So yeah, my plan, I really wanted to get the top end put back together, get the car running before we started taking the rest of it apart, but the way the timing worked out with waiting on a couple parts, we might as well just keep tearing it apart. We basically need to get the transmission out, do the clutch. We need to get the rear end out and do the diff bushing. You can see how factory it only uses one bushing hole, but it has a second bushing hole. I really don't understand that. MVH maybe, they just changed it. I don't know, I don't get it. But we'll be using both bushing holes with upgraded bushings, and we'll be upgrading all these front bushings as well. So upgrading all those and changing all of our arms back here. So that being said, we do have to wait for those parts, which is unfortunate, but it's just kind of part of it with a big project. There's little parts, little things get messed up like that plug, and you gotta order them, you gotta wait for them. So we'll have those between tomorrow and the next day so we can finish putting everything back together from the crank hub install. We can get those downpipes heat shielded. That I think is gonna make a huge difference. And then we can start pulling the rest of the drivetrain out of it. I hate bouncing around between projects. I really wanted to hear this thing run, crank hub done, check mark the box, move on, but we're on a time crunch. We got to work on what we can work on when we can work on it. Not to mention, it'll be nice to kind of get past the hump of taking the car apart and get everything out that has to come out, and then we can start working on reassembly. It always feels good when you get past that hump. You're not taking any more things off that have to go back on, you know what I mean? So that being said, I do want to give a huge thank you to Jordan at RK Tunes. Really fun hanging out with him. Definitely check out his giveaway. That E36 is sick. It is so dialed. He knows those cars so well, and I feel like he built that thing to perfection. For a good street car, man, that thing rips, it's comfortable, it drives nice. It's a unit. I would check it out. So I'll put a link down in the description to his giveaway, but huge thanks to him. It was really fun hanging out with him. I really enjoyed it. We had a good time. So that being said, we are out of time. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here, but we will get right back into this thing tomorrow and just keep plugging away at it and try to get this thing ready for Drift Week. We got a tight timeline, but I think if we keep our heads down, we can get it done. So I hope to see you guys through all of that, but for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.